Let's do it.
Perfect. It's recording to the correct spot. We worked it out.
Love that.
Oh,
Yay!
Ella K. Sharp on the line, on the ones and twos. What's good, my friend?
That's me. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm thrilled that you're here. Your song on the album, first of all, is beautiful and gorgeous and lovely.
Thank you.
Also, your voice is like this delicious. You're on the low end of a feminine register, of an AFAB voice.
Yeah.
Anyways, let me not gush over you first. Actually, let me start off by asking, who are you? How did you get, who are you? What song did you write on the album? And, well, actually, who are you? How do you identify right now? And what song did you write? We'll start there.
Okay. My name is Ella Sharp. I use she, her pronouns. I identify as bi, maybe pan. I don't know. Somewhere
It's a
around
fluid
there.
thing.
Yeah, it really is. And I wrote My Delight, which is the 8th track on the album, and I'm very excited about it.
It's so yummy, because your song is really like this love letter from spirit to the listener. And honestly, you don't even have to be a queer person to listen to it and, totally have your world rocked out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, I think that, for the longest, it's a daily struggle and practice of mine to remind myself that I am inherently beloved. It's something that I have, I think that everyone has to do, all the time. But I think it's something that with my, particular set of identities that I hold, I have to really remind myself every single day. And that's just kind of what I wanted to convey. I wrote this song actually for the launch party of Beloved Arise, when June was like, hey, I have this idea for an organization called Beloved Arise. And I was like, that sounds cool. And he's like, write a song. And I was like, okay.
Okay, yeah, sure, why not? I'll totally do that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's a fun little ditty. It's just kind of poppy and fun. And that's kind of
something that I noticed, I swear to God, if this effing camera tells me one more thing that I don't want to know. This is the running joke on this podcast, because I'm learning how to use this new camera and this new system, and she just want mercury in lemonade. Anyways, getting back on topic, a theme that's kind of come up in a couple conversations. Not to we're not blowing smoke up June's ass by any stretch. But what's so wonderful, I think, about June is the vision he had for this, and that it was executed well. So I just want to say I'm really glad that we have June. I just want to give him his flowers while he's alive. You know what I'm saying? We don't appreciate the people who create these spaces nearly enough, because especially June, he really doesn't make it about himself at all. He's made it 100% about keeping queer youth alive.
Yes. And June is the perfect balance of, he's visionary and detail oriented. He can do both.
Yes.
And that is a skill that not everyone has, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah, you're talking to the visionary who needs a personal assistant, honestly.
That's me as well. So he is a superstar. He can do both. He's superhuman.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
When you were when he approached you to say hey, not just for this one-time launch party, but what do you think about adding this song to the first album? What did you think? What went through your mind?
Actually, it's funny. I was the one who pinged him about it. I said this is a thing, and I don't really know what I thought the album was gonna be. I was just I want to be part of it. Can I be part of it? And he was like, well, yeah, I was gonna reach out to you. And so that's just kind of how it was.
Yeah, listen, great minds, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I had I had known it was in the works, and so I wanted to I jumped on that real quick.
Yeah. Did you think it was actually going to happen? Because when June told me, I honestly was not convinced. Because something like this hasn't really been done before. At least it hasn't been done well. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't exist. It's not out there floating in some small circle somewhere. but there's
Right.
nothing that's well known right now that like that exists like it.
Right. Yeah. I had no idea. I just knew I wanted to sing and I wanted to be part of it. And I was like, however that happens, I'll be happy, you know? And then he was like, "Oh, you're going to fly down to frickin' Flagstaff." And I was like, "Oh, so this is like legit. This is like serious." And then, you know, yeah, so
it's just so wonderful. So I want to know for you, like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what's a little, like,
oh yeah,
what's your story? Like, you know, how did,
my story.
I assume possible former worship leader?
Yeah.
So tell me about that. Is that where you got your start in church?
Actually, it's funny. My parents were like, they started, they went to church because they wanted a community for me when I was like 2. They weren't Christian, like when they met, or religious at all. Like my dad, he worked for Greenpeace, and my mom was an artist at like the super like hippy dippy folk center in Seattle, like this festival. Yeah, they're like super like stoner cool people, and they just wanted a community for me. And so they like came to church, and my mom didn't even know that it was a Christian church. She like, the pastor went up there, and I don't know how that happened. I don't know.
It's called a church. They
were probably, I don't know. They were probably stoned. They probably thought it was like a Unitarian, like useless thing.
Probably because they had some weird name like Open Church, Crossroads Church.
So, something like that. Exactly. And my mom was like, "Dan, he's holding a Bible. What the hell?" And then yeah. So, you know, they actually became Christian, and I just grew up in that church, and then started, you know, I hate to say this because every musician fucking says this, but like, sorry, I have a potty mouth, but I was singing before I was born. You know, I just was. And then I started singing in the like worship band for the kids there, and then just kept making music like in church and outside of church, and just kind of, I always knew that music was what I wanted to do. So yeah.
And so as you got older, was there a point in which it was like, okay, well, like, I'm queer, so this is a problem for me because apparently you can't be a queer and a worship leader.
I know, insane. I was one of those like really passionate allies for a long time.
Yes, passionate ally.
Heavy quotes around that.
Yo, they're real.
And like, yeah, and I was very lucky enough and blessed. This is not, you know, that this was my parents, like when they were Christian, they never, from their backgrounds, like queerness and faith was never. They were never at odds with each other, you know,
right.
like or whatever. So I was very blessed to grow up in that, you know, like mindset. But I didn't come out to anyone until like 2 years ago, something like that. And so I just was like,
yeah.
Well, because there was a lot of like compulsive heterosexuality, you know, like heteronormativity going on. And like I realized that I was like, you know, you go back in life and then you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't want to be friends with her. That was like super gay. You know?
Yeah. And also like just to define a term for people who might not understand, could you tell, when you say compulsory heterosexuality, what do you mean exactly?
Thank you. I can't. My theory is
no. I do the same thing. I talk over at people's heads all the time. So this is like
just kind of like society. Straight is cis het is the default, and so when I'm operating through life, like I didn't even realize that the feelings I had were for like other women and other people who don't identify as male, you know, were queer. I didn't know that. I just thought they were like, I really wanted to be their friend, until later I'm like, no, I really had a crush on her, you know, like,
or there was like something about their personhood that was just like, oh, I'm that too. I had a friend of mine in middle school named Chris, and then we reconnected on Facebook a couple years ago, and we were like, looking back on both of us, we were both just, you know, right. And then looking, I was like, now it's just like, oh yeah, look at us, like, we're all the same.
No, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, I told my best friend, and I was all like really anxious and scared, and she was like, bitch, you had a Pinterest board called Pretty Girls in middle school. We've all just been waiting for you to tell us. Like, we know. Like,
and it didn't even occur to you until much later that was even a possibility.
Right. Yeah. So
Yes.
so while I was worship leading in church, I just thought I was a passionate ally. And then,
Mm,
after I left that church, I mean, I'm still like technically contracted
mm,
there um, as a technician, but I never really had those two things
mm,
butting heads, which I'm very grateful for and very blessed
mm.
that I was never kicked out because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like that's a story that people still need to hear too.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Yeah.
not all parents, not all churches do that. Like I know for
Mm-hmm.
me, like it was a real first when I got outed when I was
Mm-hmm.
13. My parents' response initially was, "We're gonna send you to ex-gay therapy," and that's what I did.
Hmm.
And then you fast
Oh,
forward. Oh yeah, it was pretty bad. That's the little thing.
I'm so sorry.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, my mother now, like explaining to her what happened in those spaces, she's like,
Mm-hmm.
had I known, I would have never done that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it just goes to show, like, parents can change, parents can
Mm-hmm.
grow, and parents even from the jump can be really supportive of their children if they just have the space to do it. I think a lot of parents
Yeah.
are just afraid of God.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is such a thing. And that's such a colonial, like whitewashed
Say that.
notion. It's horrifying and it's so sad. And it's like, yeah, don't, being afraid of the Bible more than loving their kids. And that just breaks my heart. And
Hmm. But like,
yeah.
when we think about it, it makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you're afraid for your child's eternal soul,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you will do anything and everything to keep them from burning forever, even if
Mm-hmm.
what they, even if, like, it's they say no. This is like, we were all traumatized.
Yeah. Yeah. Our parents too.
Hmm.
And it's, yeah.
It doesn't.
Grace and compassion is hard.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
one of those
it's
things.
important.
Yeah, I always say, like, when I look at those things, I can't look at I see my mother and I say, like, yeah, you were doing your best, and your best still hurt me, and that is something
Mm-hmm.
I can still continue to heal from. Those things I
You
still
can hold
love
them both.
yes,
Yeah.
my mother is not the same woman she was 15 years ago, and thank God for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even I'll say, like, the landscape of faith, even in the past 5 years, really,
Mm-hmm.
has shifted. What is something that
Mm-hmm.
you've noticed, like, within, like, the cultural sphere around queerness and faith? What have you noticed?
Yeah. It's weird. I'm located and grew up in Seattle and what occupied
Mm,
Duwamish territory, and I don't know. I feel like I'm sorry. My words are
you're
like
fine.
I there's in the church and spaces that I grew up in. They were never at odds, and I again, like I
Mm,
said, I'm very grateful for that, and I feel like I don't have a lot of context for the broader like
mm. It's like
country.
it's like I don't
Yeah,
have the trauma.
yeah, and I acknowledge
Mm,
how freaking privileged that is,
mm-hmm.
um,
I get it.
and that's a blessing. And so I don't really have context for that, but I do think that like things are. I mean, at least queer people are being addressed in the church and are that is becoming in more and more
Yeah.
healthy ways and more holistic ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I have noticed things um evolve, but also I'm really young still, so I don't really also like
Mm.
I don't
How old are
really.
you?
I'm 22. I just turned 22. So
Whoa,
I'm
un
yeah,
petit.
yeah. So I honestly I really don't know. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, please do
Uh,
not be sorry. You don't know what you don't know. And
right.
I don't care. Like, that's actually the correct answer is I'm not sure. See, everyone, this is like, I just want to say out loud, like, this is not embarrassing. This is
Yeah.
how we should always answer. And I think a lot of people feel afraid of, like, not have,
Mhm.
this is a perfect, God, this is how I know that I am a former evangelical preacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything's a sermon illustration. It's just like, how often do we think that we have to have the right answer?
Hmm.
You know?
All the time. And it's
Hmm.
infuriating.
Yeah. Even when we know that we're free, even when we
Hmm.
know that we don't need to, even when we know that God's not expecting us to perform. God's just expecting us to experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, God's actually not. Here's another thing: God is not expecting anything of us.
Oh, not at all.
God,
and that's amazing. It's lovely and it's terrifying at the same time. Like, it's liberating and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, and kind of like what your song is talking about over and over again is like trying to get the listener to get just like, you've got to get it into your head. Like, I love you because I love you because I love you. Because that's who I am.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's enough. That's enough. It's more than enough.
Yeah. How, you know, just as like a queer person of faith now, like I know that like we've all kind of had like these evolving definitions and like how we do it, but like how would you describe your spiritual practice or spirituality right now?
I think I would identify I'm scared of the word Christian because of all the connotations of it, but I also think, you know, that is the path. I mean, it's still a word and a title that I like tend to gravitate towards because I think that there needs to be a lot of variety. Like I want there to be a variety of what the word Christian can mean. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
okay.
I want other
into
perspectives.
This.
Right. Yeah.
No,
no. Yeah. Like I don't, because I remember once when I was like 13 and I was talking to a friend at school and he, you know, we were just chatting about all kinds of different things and it came up that I like, and he was stopped and he looked at me and he went, "But you're cool." And that like,
you're a Christian, but you're cool.
Yeah, and I was like, huh. So this is kind of I'm like a secret agent here, you know? Like I want to be able to have that there's not one way to be like Christian, and I don't subscribe to a lot of the theology that is, you know, quote unquote Christian, but I love Jesus, and I think that that's just the easiest term to kind of like holistically fall under.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Can I tell you same? It's like I have, you know, I grew up evangelical. I had all these ideas about who God was. That all got blown up. But it got blown up because there was something better, you know? It's not even that it blew up. It really just, it was like a plant that overgrew its own environment. And I couldn't be in a pot inside of a hothouse. Put me up in the forest.
Yeah. I love that.
And
There's
so that's
so much more.
Yeah. And then like, what's so cool is like now I'm seeing like, you know, to use that plant metaphor, like I see where I got pollinated. I see where I got these ideas. I see where it all came in. And now I'm seeing like other people's, you know, flowers, other people like starting to like blossom. And I think that's like the power of our stories. That's the power of being able to stand boldly in yourself and not shrink yourself or prune yourself. Yeah, sure, there are things that need pruning, but it ain't that blossom, baby. You don't prune the blossom. You prune the things that are no longer necessary. Ooh, come on, somebody.
Yep.
Like you look at the plant and say, okay, these leaves are yellowing. I'm still sending energy. This is how pruning works. See, I'm a little bit of a horticulturist.
I love that. I love that.
But like when a plant's leaves are yellowing, it's actually a good idea to prune those, because then it's not having to keep that area of the plant alive anymore. And it can redirect that energy, that nutrients into a different plant. My elephant ears all but died except for like one leaf until new growth started. And now it has like 18 new leaves, no death, like the chlorophyll is fresh and new. Also, it is wild to me that I can throw dirt and water together and something grows.
I know. God's
water and dirt made that plant.
I know. It's amazing.
And also,
nature blows my mind. Yeah.
And I think that's to me like, I am somebody who like I try to say like, you know, I have a wonder-filled spirituality. I'm just in wonder of everything.
That's so important. Like the more that I learn about God and spirit and whatever, the more I realize I don't know about it. And that's it's cool. God is just such a badass. And like the more, you know, it's just incredible. The more that
And I think that's where I think I think spirituality and just even the Christian faith like needs to head is like, You know, God's not something out there or something you'll experience when you're dead. God is not even a relationship. God is a
Yeah.
reality that you
Yeah.
can accept or not.
Hmm.
God's
Yep.
that's a ugh. And that's
And
what
even if you don't know that you've accepted, like there's God in everything. Even
come
if you
on.
don't know, like even if you don't know that love that you have is spirit, even if you don't recognize it as spirit,
My. Oh, it's
Sorry,
like
continue. I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt.
please no. This is what podcasts are all about. Like keep
Okay. Yeah.
So like I think that's like a big shift too from seeing God as this person or thing or angry man who's going to punish us and
Mhm.
seeing God as the love that we share between us. Seeing
Yeah.
God as all of the mechanisms that make it possible for us to communicate clearly with one another, which is breath, musculature,
Mhm.
and training, and
Mhm.
our brains, and sound waves, and your ears picking up those sound waves and then going into your brain and immediately rendering these things into meaning in real time.
Mhm. Yep. It's yeah. I think you were in our little rebel group when I was talking
Mm,
about this, and I had said something like, when I enter a space that has holy energy, like when I
yeah.
enter into a holy space, I physically feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I've had to it's just, it's amazing. And like, I know that if I actually focus my energy, I could probably find that everywhere. But there are like some
Mm-hmm.
spaces where like, there's
Mm-hmm.
just so much holy static energy going through,
Mm-hmm.
flowing
Yeah.
through everywhere. Yeah.
And that's exactly it, is if we train ourselves to notice the holy
Hmm.
moments. Like whenever we come into the present moment, I think
Hmm.
that's like, because like A Course in Miracles would say that this is the only time that actually exists. God
Yeah.
exists. The only time in which God, in God's timelessness, intersects with the temporal where we are is us,
Mhm.
is now.
Yes.
God's.
Praxis to be the evangelical, like, like,
Mhm.
praxis faith. Yeah.
Yeah, God is
Yeah.
only right here. And so
Hmm.
when I can remember, like whenever I am worried, whenever I start freaking out about stuff and I notice myself starting to worry, I actually ask myself, I think it's usually like, I think it's God in me, my higher self is just like, where are you? Because you're not here.
Mm.
Your mind is
Hmm.
thinking of the future. Your mind is
Hmm.
dwelling on the past and coloring
Hmm.
this present moment. Did you see those? And when I come back, I look like I'll be driving my car and I'll look around and I'm like, oh, I've never noticed X, Y, and Z things.
Hmm. Yeah. It's so important. Like, yeah, mindfulness is a practice that I constantly have to force myself
Mm-hmm.
to get into because I dissociate a lot, because of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that is just like because of trauma and other
Yeah.
things. I'm dissociated all the time, and so like trying to physically
Can
get
you?
into my body.
Yeah. Can we
Yeah.
say? Can we define that term as well?
Yes.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
dissociation, what does that mean for you?
It's kind of like a mental state where I am just completely not in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Where either sometimes I'm like looking up down at my body. It's a trauma response, and so when I
Mm-hmm.
need to like, it comes from protection.
Mm-hmm.
You're protecting yourself. So like if I'm like looking down at my body, but I'm not actually in my body.
Mm-hmm.
Or like if I'm trying, like taking a shower, like I see the water and I see it and I see myself,
Mm-hmm.
touching the faucet, but I don't feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, it's,
It's
or I'm
like
like driving and yeah.
it's like your body's on autopilot. Your body is
Yes.
currently here, but your mind has checked out.
Hmm. Yes, entirely. And I
And
just,
and
yeah.
you're right. It's something that I've experienced too. I went to and other people might experience this as like that kind of feeling like where you feel really shut down, or where you
Hmm.
know that you're in the room and someone's doing
Hmm.
mean or something triggers you and you're just blank. I'm going to turn
Hmm.
off my emotions because I can't handle them when they come in. And
Hmm.
people have told me that my emotions or my feelings or who I am is not welcome in this space, is not
Right.
safe in this space, so I better protect myself so that I don't get hurt more.
Yep, exactly.
And
And it's, yeah, inviting myself to remind myself that I'm safe and to come back into my body and to just be fucking mindful, because you're so right. That's where spirit is and that's where presence is. And it's just,
mhm.
yeah. So,
I think what I'm excited and I love about Serenade and the entire album in
mm,
general is, for many people, the entryway into presence
Mm-hmm.
has been music. That's our
Mm-hmm.
training ground. And also, like, this is something that is prevalent across different religious denominations. The singing
Mm-hmm.
of songs in group,
Yeah.
in Hindu, in Buddhism, and
Mm-hmm.
Eastern tradition, they call it kirtan.
Yeah.
In the South we call it hymns. And
Yep.
and it's like the theory I have is just like it's just like music is magic. Music can
Mm-hmm.
be a powerful medicine because it gets past the ego. Like music and poetry speak to the thing that is
Yep.
eternal within us,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why it's
Yeah,
so powerful.
it's intrinsic. And
Hmm.
it's also like physical. You
Hmm.
physically feel music. Or the rhythms and everything just like,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. That wasn't very eloquently stated, but I'm trying to say like we embody music and music embodies us, and that is
Hmm.
just, yeah, it's
And that's
so
why it can
important.
be used as a tool for healing. When we recognize that, like, at least for many of us, like, I've talked to people about their experiences in the church before, where it's like, well, what was I feeling when I was
Hmm.
in church? What was actually happening to me or with me? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I can't verify what's actually happening, but my theory is that you actually felt God.
Hmm.
That
Yeah.
maybe God was actually in that space, how albeit imperfect. But I really do believe,
I know exactly what you're.
yeah, it's that feeling where like,
Yeah.
how is it that like what like my theory is like much like in certain other practices, like we create a container for the experience, we have the experience, and
Hmm.
then we close the container or we send the energy back out. And the same thing that like happens in church, like it's just that the container
Yeah.
is like, if you're in an evangelical Pentecostal space like I came from, you know worship leaders are some of the most gifted practitioners of energy, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
And I don't know how they do it. It's just it's one of it's a kind of a, I don't want to say it's an intuitive skill because I think it can be developed, but
Hmm.
like music is just an access point for these people, and they are able to usher other people into that same presence because mirror neurons are a thing, baby.
Hmm.
So
Oh
when
yeah.
someone else is
Yep.
having that moment on stage or someone else is worshiping there, then like it's very likely that you pick up on what they're experiencing because you are a sympathetic creature.
Yeah.
And so we pick
Yeah.
up on that, we bring
Mm-hmm.
it in, the energy is moving, we're starting to hear. But then at the same time, if we've been trained to feel guilty, if we've been trained to look for sin in every single part of us, then those experiences turn from a moment where we can connect with presence to a moment where we're just thinking about how horrible we are.
Hmm. Yep, and we're being emotionally manipulated. It's such a fine line, you know.
Hmm.
And like I just think about those cry nights at like church camp, like
Oh
the last
yeah.
night at church camp, and it's like those are so scary. But you're doing the same thing,
Hmm.
but like learning how to channel it and into a sacred, safe space is so
Hmm.
important. Hmm.
Yes. And something
Yeah.
that I love about um, just this album in general is I think that, oh, this album, and so it's not technically it's not a worship album.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
It's not one of these. It's not an album that you're gonna listen to it and be like, oh my god, I want to get up and praise Jesus. It
Hmm.
is an album from divine, from soul to
It's a
soul.
love letter. It's a love letter, I think,
Mm-hmm.
more than anything else.
Say more.
Just like, something that I think, because I've been in volunteering with Beloved Will Rise for like a minute for the since the beginning, and something that is really nice about Rebel and the youth group is that like we so try to instill in the youth that their queerness is a gift, and queerness is representative of God's creativity, and not anything else. You're
Mm-hmm.
just another expression of holiness, of spirit, and I think that's what this record is really
Don't worry, I'm still here.
intentionally. Oh no, you're good. Is really intentional about trying to do is use that medium of music to instill that
Mm-hmm.
firm affirmation and belief that you are so fucking beloved beyond your imagination, your wildest dreams. And I mean, I just hope that we're able to do that, you know? Because, you know, you can say it, oh yeah, I'm beloved, you know, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But like, as we were saying, you know, music is such a holy, intrinsic thing
Mm-hmm.
that I hope that this instills that in a way that these youth and
Mm-hmm.
everyone will be able to understand
Mm-hmm.
and really, really identify with and feel.
Mm-hmm. Oof. You gave me chills all over my
Yeah!
arm.
I gave Kevin Garcia chills.
Oh, listen, let me tell you, listen, when the whole when the holy is there, like when the
Mm-hmm.
shit slaps, baby, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
I like you so much, Ella K. Sharp.
Kevin, I like you so
You
much.
want to be
Kevin
friends?
Garcia, yes,
Nice.
please. That would
Perfect.
be lovely.
Well, I'm so proud of you. I'm so thankful for your
Thank
contribution
you.
to this album. If you're listening to this when it's coming out, this one I believe is coming out this coming Sunday. So you're
Ooh,
episode 2. Um,
yay!
the album drops June 5th. That is this coming
Fourth,
Friday.
right?
June
Fourth, fifth?
4th? I believe it's June
I
5th.
think it's the fourth. Oh, oh no!
Everyone, let's check the Google Doc. Hold on.
While you do that, I'm gonna let the cat out because she's yelling at my door right now. Really quick.
She's just got some feelings, you know. She just
She
has
she never shuts up. I love her so much, but she's very loud.
Beloved Arise Serenade or slash Serenade. So this is a good time, everyone. This is what you can do. You can go to belovedarise.org belovedirise.org slash serenade. And you know what? You right. It's June 4th.
Yeah.
You right. I think
I mean, you are right though, because you said Friday. I think that is a Friday.
that is a Friday. It's this coming
So,
Friday, June
we're
4th, not
both
June
right.
5th. Get your shit together. Listen to it. And when we're telling you it's going to make you cry in the best way, we're not joking.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so
Nope.
healing. If you are a queer person, a non-queer
Mm-hmm.
person, a
Mm-hmm.
youth group kid, a former youth group kid, a present youth group kid, or
And
even,
if you've never even heard of God before, it'll still make you cry.
yeah, even if you swear that you've never had a spiritual experience in your life, this one might give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I would like to argue that everyone has had a spiritual experience. You just didn't know it.
Yep.
Anytime that you were in awe of a sunrise or a sunset, anytime you were out in the forest and you just felt calm, when you went to the ocean, you said, "Damn, that's beautiful." When you saw, when you saw a baby get born, or like when you see a fresh baby and you're just like, "Fuck,
Yeah,
wow."
a fresh baby, and it's
Serious-
still all gooey and gross.
And
Yeah.
it's just like, how is that beautiful? But yet it is. That's God. All of it.
Yeah.
When you looked at, like, when you said something kind to yourself rather than something shitty to yourself, that's God. Oh!
Sometimes when you just start crying for no apparent reason, that's God.
Yeah.
Also, Kevin, I don't know if you know, I don't even know if you know anything about Frederick Buechner, the theologian, but
Tell me more.
so much. Well, he is just very. I mean, I'm assuming he died a million years ago, and so that's what I'm gonna give to him right now. But I don't know. But anyway, there's a passage that I like a lot. That is pretty much word for word what you just said. I'm
Bring
gonna
it.
send it to you because
Nice.
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I like you. I love it so much. I can't wait to see you when I'm in Seattle.
Yeah, I know. This is gonna be great.
It's gonna be good. I'm excited. Oh, fuck. Pardon me. I shouldn't
What
say.
happened?
I just remembered that the person who had like the space in Seattle called me last week, and I haven't called them back because who doesn't just email somebody? Don't call me.
No, yeah.
Also,
I will not pick up for my mother, for my partner, for anybody. You have to let me know you're gonna call first, or I will ignore.
yeah. If I don't, and like, I think. Anyways, I will call her back so I can get this thing on. Oh, this is what happens when you say yes to too many things and you're doing it all yourself. But guess what? We're not here to complain. We're here to say wonderful things and be wonderful people. And I cannot wait to see you in Seattle. I cannot wait for the album. It's beautiful. Everyone, please go click the link in the description of this video and or the show notes of this podcast to listen to it. And if you want to hear Ella's song before it actually, if you want to hear it before it comes out, you can hear her track on A Tiny Revolution podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, before we hang up, please tell humans where they
Yeah.
can find you across the web, etc.
Yes, I post covers on YouTube, just Ella Sharp. I'm on Instagram at Ella Cat Sharp, Kat, like short
Mm-hmm.
cat like with a K. And I have a bad record on Spotify that I made when I was 17, and it's called I Smell Thunder. And so but I'm putting out more in the future. So
No, way to keep that old stuff up though, because it's that's brave. I look at some back of my old YouTube videos and I'm like, I mean, it's not bad. But
yeah, I know. Sometimes I keep it up just because like it's hilarious. It's like,
yeah.
oh, that's who I was at one point.
Yeah, and
And that's
honestly, if you're not
precious.
horrified by yourself 5 years ago, I don't think you're doing it right.
I know. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Where's the growth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got nothing else going on, so I'm just gonna hit stop now.
All
Finish
right.
and record.